future, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, August 18th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Quite a bit to get to today, as usual. Mind control coming out of the White House. We'll show it to you. They play a clip of deportations are surging and will continue. Large deportations, over an hour clip. It's ridiculous. We're not getting mass deportations. More lies. I know, shocking. Out of the liars out of the White House. Take a look at that. They had some crazy. There's a crazy wizard video out of Argentina protesting against Peter Thiel's Palantir house there. Take a look at that. Iran war, day 171. Trump declares Strait of Hormuz U.S. territory. Nothing could be further from the truth. We'll go over the ins and outs. Where are we at on day 171 of the Iran war? Diesel. The price of diesel's now broken $100. We're in for a world of hurt here in the economy, domestically. Iran says the Strait of Hormuz is closed. We'll take a look at the latest back and forths there. There is no negotiations going on. Was there ever for like the last freaking, was the stupid fake MOU for the last 60 days? It's a giant disaster. Trump, we need peace now. Trump needs to declare it over, declare victory, whatever lie you want to tell, say it, and let's move on. We need to get out of there now. It's dragging us down. It's dragging the whole country down. It's dragging the whole world down. Shout out to the chat if there is any. How's the audio today? Well, thank you, A-Dub. Is the audio good today? Apologies yesterday. I think I have my phone next to the mic, a little bit of it. I was freaking out because I was getting real bad feedback on my end through the headphones, and I thought the whole show yesterday was shit, but apparently it was okay. Is the audio good for you guys in the chat over there? Give me a FU something. Let me know. All right, let me get back to the news. Sorry about that. So FBI says that they got one of these bat characters out of NIH. We'll take a look at that. And of course, the same old thing. Oh, yeah, all the deep state's going down. Give me a break. We'll take a look at that, though. FBI tells us crime is way down. Audio's good? Well, thank you for the feedback there, A-Dub. All right. Let's see some other lawsuits back and forth there. Disney is suing the government, the FCC, over censorship. What else do we got? There's some crazy right here down the road from me in Madera, California. This crazy lady saying start a black militia and rob white people. I don't know why people make these crazy threats on the internet. It's going to come back and bite you on the rear end. Little economic news today. It's all bad and getting worse as we're approaching $40 trillion in debt. Take a look at a few economic stories. The big one today, though, is that the price of diesel, U.S. diesel crack, is at record high, $100, over $100 a barrel. I get tongue-tied just saying it. It's shocking. We'll take a look at that. A bunch of West Asia news. Aardvarks have attacked Syria. They almost got shot by Turkey. And so the systematic demolition of Lebanon continues. The genocide in Gaza continues. The war in Ukraine, Russia continues. It seems like it's escalating now. Russia is essentially hinting they're in direct war with UK now. after it's been confirmed over the last few days, Ukraine is using UK produced weapons to make long-range strikes inside Russia. Russia has said in the past to America and everybody else, if Ukraine uses your weapons to hit us deep in Russia, we're going to take it the same as if you did it. Some people are saying more empty threats by Russia. We'll take a look at that. It's all quite horrific. U.S. has sanctioned the International Criminal Court there. So don't be an anti-Semitic or you could be sanctioned as well. And a bunch just more of the ridiculousness that is aardvarks. The evil that is aardvarks and the ridiculousness of it all. I'm sorry, but they're bad. I'm sorry. And I don't even hate them. I'm not even trying to say hate them. I'm just saying what they're doing is evil, man. What they're doing is freaking evil. All right, let's get to On This Day in History. And we'll get to all this crazy news on this Tuesday for you. Let's see here. On this day of August 18th, we go back to the year 1698. I did not know this. Why I read On This Day in History. Always seems like I learned something new. There's so much. On this day in 1698, Russian Tsar Peter the Great arrives in Zaandam as part of his grand embassy, where he studies Dutch shipbuilding while living incognito under the name of Peter Mikhailov. So he went undercover there, Peter the Great, low-key learning Dutch shipbuilding. 1826 on this day, we saw a Scottish explorer, Alexander Gordon Laing, travels across the Sahara and becomes the first European to reach the fabled trading city of Timbuktu. He is subsequently murdered a few weeks later upon his arrival. Not a very good trip, some would say. 1872, on this day, Aaron Montgomery Ward issues the first catalog for his mail order business. It is one sheet listing 163 available items. I remember back in the day, the Sears catalog and the other type of catalogs. I remember back in the day, that used to be a thing, ordering out of department store catalogs. Started on this day, 1872, by Montgomery Ward. 1909, on this day, Japan's gift of friendship, Tokyo Mayor Yokio Ozakai presents Washington, D.C. with 2,000 cherry trees, which President William Howard Taft decides to plant near the Potomac River. Very nice of the Japanese. On this day, 1917, we saw the Great Fire in Greece. It destroyed 32% of the city in Thessaloniki. Inky destroyed 32% of the city, leaving 70,000 people there homeless. 1917, 1940, on this day, the hardest day as it's become known, Battle of Britain, air battle known as the hardest day occurs. The Luftwaffe loses approximately 69 aircraft, and the Royal Air Force loses 68 in one of the largest ever air battles. The hardest day on this day, 1940, World War II. On this day, 1976, axe murder incident. Korean axe murder incident. 2 U.S. soldiers tasked with cutting down a popular tree blocking the view of UN observers are killed by North Koreans, claiming it was planted by Kim Il-sung in the Korean demilitarized zone. Those are some hardcore tree hugger Koreans there, right? On this day, 1987, Ohio healthcare worker Donald Harvey is sentenced to triple life for poisoning 24 patients. We'll take a look at the bat issues coming up here. On this day in 2005, Dennis Rader is sentenced to 175 years in prison for the BTK serial killings in Sagwick County, Kansas, bind, torture, kill killings. And on this day in 2019, 1.7 million people participate in peaceful pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong, representing an estimated quarter of the population. And then what happened right after that? Oh, the bat times came. Wasn't that convenient? And then on this day in our civil liberties history, we go back to the year 1933. Aardvark paper protests American publication of Hitler's Mein Kampf. An Aardvark newspaper on this day protested the plan of Houghton Mifflin Company to publish in the United States an English language edition of Mein Kampf, or My Struggle, Adolf Hitler's autobiography. The book would be the first such edition of the Nazi leader's autobiography published in the United States. In an article in the American Aardvark Tribune, Louis Rittenberg argued that the publisher was abetting Hitler propaganda in this country, and that even a single paragraph of the book is enough to outrage one's sensibilities. The controversy over the publication of Mein Kampf was only the beginning of a long controversy over freedom of speech for Nazis in the United States. See the original 1934 ACLU statement defending freedom of speech for Nazis and other hate groups. In the 1970s, the question of the right of a small Nazi group to march in Skokie, Illinois became a major national controversy. The Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals finally ruled in favor of the Nazi group in a strongly worded defense of freedom of speech. The Nazi group decided not to exercise their right and never marched or held a demonstration in Skokie, Illinois. And on this day in 1939 in our civil liberties history, the Grapes of Wrath banned in Kansas City, Kansas. The Board of Education in Kansas City, Kansas ordered John Steinbeck's classic novel, The Grapes of Wrath, removed from 20 public libraries on this day. The novel presents a grim, realistic picture of the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. The attack on the novel in Kansas City was one of many attempts to ban the novel across the country. The Public Library of East St. Louis, Illinois, ordered The Grapes of Wrath burned on November 15, 1939, but soon rescinded the decision. Steinbeck won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1962. 4 other Steinbeck novels have been banned or challenged over the years. The most heavily banned or challenged has been Of Mice and Men, including 29 times banned in the 1990s alone. Here's our segue to the news. Wizards protesting in front of Peter Thiel's house there in Argentina. Bizarre. A gang of Argentine Gandalfs protest against Palantir in front of Peter Thiel's house in Buenos Aires, Argentina. They unfurled a banner that reads, "You shall not pass, you mother effer." Ridiculous, but it goes with the rest of the news for today. The rest of the news for today, as we've stated many times here, the simplest form of mind control is repetition. See the White House. They put out this. They put out this video earlier today on the White House X feed.
Large deportations, large deportations, large deportations, large deportations, large deportations.
There's an hour of that, over an hour and 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Large deportations. It's simply not true. We're not getting the mass deportations. Deport, deport, deport. This dystopic meme was posted by the White House earlier today. Deportations are spiking. This is simply not true. The lie house just keeps lying to us. Liberia agrees to accept up to 1,200 deportees from the United States, with the initial group of 20 deportees expected to arrive on Thursday, according to Reuters. And their Department of Homeland Security, and I don't doubt that it's true, they're constantly posting the illegal alien killers and rapers and all this stuff came into the country under the Biden administration, but the government doesn't hold itself accountable, so it falls on deaf ears here now. I agree. Get every illegal alien out. To start off, they're breaking our immigration law. They need to either get their status right or get the hell out of the country, self-deport, or be deported. However it may go, but we're just simply not getting it. Let's take a look at the numbers here now. The last 7 presidential administrations, formal removals or deportations by Department of Homeland Security, ICE. Old man Bush, George H.W. Bush, 1 term, 1989 to 1993, deported 141,000. Bill Clinton, 2 terms, 1993 to 2001, deported 1.06 million. Baby Bush, George W. Bush, 2 terms, deported between 2001 and 2009, deported 2 million to 2.4 million. Barack Hussein Obama, Barry Soetoro, 2 terms between 2009 and 2017, deported 3.1 to 3.3 million. Trump, his first term, 2017 to 2021, deported 1.2 to 1.3 million. Biden, 1 term, 2021 to 2025, deported 545,000 to 700,000. Trump's second term, we're about year and 3/4 in here now, 500,000 to 600,000. That's it. So we do some quick math here. We'll even be generous to Trump administration and give them the larger estimated in his first term, 1.3, and we'll even give him 700,000. That puts us at 2 million. So that's way under what these other presidents have done, and their campaign was not about mass deportations and blaming the Biden administration. Even going at this pace, Trump is going to be way under Obama, about what George W. Bush did 20 freaking years ago. It's lies, man. What else do we say at this point? The lie house. It is the freaking lie house at this point. Department of War meme of the day. We are going to win. Really? It's not looking so good. It's not looking so good. Trump has ordered his top envoys to halt talks with Iran, signaling a major shift in strategy. The administration is moving away from trying to, quote, hammer Iran as soon as possible and toward a long-term effort to, quote, strangle Tehran through sustained economic and military pressure. The goal appears to be increasing pressure over time until Iran is more willing to accept Trump's terms. And here is Trump saying as much earlier today. There are no talks or conversations going on or scheduled with the Islamic Republic of Iran. The naval blockade remains in full force and effect. The Hormuz Strait is open and operating. All water mines have been removed or detonated. It's just not true. It's just simply not true. And Trump posts this meme. U.S. oil prices extend gains toward $85 per barrel. That's not the big one. The diesel is, though. They're both big, but diesel's the back of the majority of transport of goods. So here's a delusional post by Trump. New U.S. territory, Strait of Hormuz. It's just simply not true. Trump calls Hormuz new U.S. territory as shipping remains stalled. Trump also claims Hormuz is open and operating and that all naval mines have been removed or detonated. But Kapler reports that confirmed crossings fell 19.5% last week to just 95 against a pre-war daily average of over 130. Just 3 transits were recorded on August 16th and 10 on August 17th, the last 2 days here now. Kepler said vessels continue using Iran's unilateral routing scheme with none recorded through the conventional Hormuz traffic separation system or Omni routes yesterday. A planned Iraq-Syria oil pipeline promoted by U.S. officials as a way to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. Why do we have to bypass it? It's U.S. territory. A way to bypass it will take 4 years and cost at least $15 billion, according to Reuters. The damaged Kirk Banais line cannot simply be repaired. An entirely new system would connect Iraq's south and northern oil fields to Haditha, then Syria's Mediterranean port of Banais. The United States says initial capacity could reach 2 billion barrels per day, but feasibility studies have only begun, and land rights and clearance pose further hurdles. Here's the proposed pipeline to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to take the oil from here and ship it over there and ship it out that way. Maybe. Pipe dreams. Why do we even need it if it's U.S. territory, the Strait of Hormuz? Ghalibaf, Iran's parliamentary speaker, says Americans think squeezing Iran harder will win concessions that were never part of the agreement. Bessent and Hegseth are way out of their league. Stop waiting for the clown crew to pull a rabbit out of their hat and clean up the mess you made. He went on to say, the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until the U.S. naval blockade is lifted. our frozen assets are released, oil sanctions are removed, threats and military operations on all fronts end, and all terms of the MOU are fulfilled. The Trump administration is reportedly considering surrendering U.S. bases in the Gulf and weighing a pullback from the Persian Gulf after Iranian strikes crippled American bases, with allies now questioning whether U.S. forces have become a liability, according to a report out of the Washington Compost. Eight people familiar with the matter told the Washington Compost that the War Department is assessing whether to rebuild damaged bases or scale back U.S. military footprint in West Asia. It's all a secret plan, bro. We just don't understand. No, we underestimated Iran's retaliation capabilities, and our bases are sitting as sitting ducks and looking like liabilities to Persian Gulf countries. No, it's a secret plan, and we had to do all this to get out because we just couldn't simply withdraw. We have egg all over our face here now. We have egg, that is the U.S. military, has egg all over our face from this debacle. A source close to Iranian officials says Donald Trump has no viable options beyond accepting Iran's conditions. $300 billion in compensation, release of frozen assets, lifting the naval blockade, and an end to hostilities across all fronts, arguing that the U.S. military and economic leverage has been significantly depleted. The source cited three factors behind Tehran's confidence. Strategic petroleum reserves. The strategic reserve has fallen to roughly 293.4 million barrels, its lowest level since 1982. It goes down every day, almost every couple of days, to the new lowest level, reducing Washington's energy cushion during a prolonged Hormuz dispute. Munitions shortages. The United States has reportedly fired more than 1,500 Patriot interceptors, while stocks of ATACMS and PRSM missiles have been heavily depleted. Replenishing inventories could take years. Political pressure, with the midterms approaching and the war facing domestic opposition, Tehran sees mounting pressure on Washington to contain both the conflict and elevated energy prices. Trump has no option but to accept Iran's conditions, the source said, arguing that Washington cannot escalate without risking further economic damage, but cannot withdraw without conceding Hormuz. What a friggin' disaster. Following recent meetings among top officials, Iran has reportedly completed the groundwork for permanent toll system routing ships through an Iranian-controlled northern route, per Iranian sources. If Iran applies previously reported fees of 5% to 7% of cargo value are applied, potentially generating up to $100 billion in extortion money. They got the gun pointed at your face. If you want to cross here, pay us or we shoot you. The environmental safety fees, they're calling them. The framework would give Iran authority over traffic management, transit permits, toll collection, and vessel services. At 7%, the toll could generate roughly $385 million per day. A VLCC carrying 2 million barrels could face a fee of about $11 million, with collection costs reportedly minimal. at pre-war traffic levels, projected annual revenue could approach $100 billion, comparable to annual profits of Alphabet, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, and Saudi Aramco. We won the war. If they can put this in place, we helped them create a brand new gigantic revenue stream. I guess that's hashtag winning for MAGA and Trump. USS Abraham Lincoln supply crisis stemmed from Iran's destroying the main U.S. naval logistics hub in Bahrain early in the war, forcing resupplies to be flown in from Diego Garcia, 2,200 miles away, according to national security reporter David Rode. He went on to say, War Secretary Hegseth hid the scale of the damage rather than publicly acknowledging it. Hegseth has called reports of crisis conditions on the Lincoln completely misrepresented. The carrier has been at sea for over 250 days with reported food rationing, broken plumbing, and mental health strain. Wall Street Journal put Bahrain reconstruction cost at roughly $400 million. The USS George Washington is en route to relieve the USS Abraham Lincoln as we continue to report on the mutiny going on there and poor mental health conditions for our troops. Odysee, foreign minister out of Iran, announces, quote, new era for Iran. We now represent a nation that has overcome a superpower, says new Iran will be assertive and powerful, defending its people's rights. Hold your heads high. Our flag is flying high. Very confident talk coming out of Iranian leadership. Weak Iran is no more, Odysee said, saying war created a resilient Iran. Iran resisted 40 days without air defense while its missiles continued hitting back daily. He says world underestimated Iran and its people, all of whom kept resisting despite heavy losses. They're declaring victory. That is Iran. Well, Trump should declare victory and get us the hell out of there and the rest of our bases. We have no business in the Middle East. Actually, I know our greatest ally and the greatest evil nation ever is there, and we have to protect them at all costs, even to collapse our own country. But at some point, I mean, my God, let's let them handle it themselves there. Right, where are we at? Well, let's take a look back. Yeah, let's take a look back at it now, I guess. Let's take a look at, this was quietly released yesterday by the White House. The National Security, Science and Technology Strategy. Only 24 pages. Only 24 pages. I think I'm going to read you the summary here now. I'll link to it at Weaponized News Substack for those interested. Again, 24 pages. Not that dense of a read. They say it piggybacks off of 2025 National Security Strategy, which we reported last year at the time. Let me read you through the summary here. National Security, Science and Technology Strategy supports 2025 National Security Strategy, focuses U.S. science and technology on military capabilities, homeland defense, and direct national security needs. Posture must be focused, resilient, agile, and secure. The pillars listed in the report go as follows. Focus techno-strategic competition on battlefield advantage, undersea space, AI/ autonomy priority, also air long-range strike and C5ISR. I don't even know what that's abbreviation for. And homeland threats, borders, nuclear deterrence, Golden Dome missile defense, cyber, and bioweapons shape competition to U.S. strengths, avoid costly mirroring, build technological resilience via forward assessments, leadership in transformative tech, AI, biotech, and quantum, national resilience architecture, redundancy, modernized infrastructure, and keeping adversaries out of critical systems supply chains, accelerate innovation by incentivizing private academic contributions, removing regulatory burdens, and reforming acquisition, OTAs, milestone contracts, executive orders on defense and space, protect science and technology via stronger research security, modernize CFI US outbound investment screening, and streamline export data controls, implementation, workforce, STEM talent attraction. We're going to get to more of that. They're recruiting right now at the Department of War to go ahead and build out the rest of Skynet. We'll get to that reporting later in the show. Research and development infrastructure, targeted federal funding, compliant private sector, non-federal partnerships, ally partner leverage, priority battlefield domains, undersea space AI autonomy, key enabling CETs, advanced manufacturing materials, AI, hypersonics, semiconductors, quantum, biotech, space tech, etc. Homeland focus, borders, nuclear deterrent, Golden Dome, cyber, and BW defense, shape competition to U.S. strengths, use mix of exquisite plus attainable systems, lead in uncertain transformative tech, AI, AGI, biotech, quantum computing for long-term resilience, build redundancy and grateful degradation into critical architectures, accelerate via private incentives, deregulation, acquisition, reform, strengthen research security, outbound investment limits, export controls, home source supply chains, partner with trusted allies, align federal research and development, workforce, and infrastructure tightly to national security priorities. Again, I'll publish I'll link to it at Weaponized News Substack, and you could go read it all. 24 pages there yourself. Yeah, I think that was we're way behind on the hypersonics, that's for sure. Yeah. Piggybacking off of last year's national security strategy. All right, moving on here now. I felt like we needed to cover that, and so we did. And I didn't want to bore you with reading the whole thing word for word. Okay, continuing here now. FBI, what do you do with a Epstein cover-upper that won the gold medal for Epstein cover-ups? I don't know, Kash Patel, I can't look at you straight, but they claim they're getting the bad guys from the bad times. He says, after FBI investigation with our DOJ partners, Dr. Fauci's associate, David Morans, this guy, David Morans, co-conspirator 1, co-conspirator 2, David Morans just pled guilty to conspiracy. in a scheme to avoid FOIA requests and the Federal Records Act connected to bat research grants. The FBI uncovered that Morin's co-conspirator 1, co-conspirator 2, and others conspired during the bat times to defraud the United States after the National Institute of Health terminated co-conspirator 1's grant. NIH terminated the grant, understanding the risk of bats' emergence based on allegations that bats emerged from the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China. Mr. Moran's and his co-conspirators, there's no conspiracy. It's the language the Department of Justice uses in its indictments, but make no mistake, there's never a conspiracy. Don't be crazy. People can never meet together and come up with a plan and then act on said plan. It's never happened. Mr. Moran's and his co-conspirators then agreed in writing to intentionally hide their communications from public view by corresponding through Moran's personal Gmail account rather than his official NIH email account. So these people are just freaking morons, idiots, protected by the corrupt government using Gmail accounts to carry on the bat conspiracy, we're told to believe, by the lying criminals at the FBI. The FBI investigation remains ongoing. No one is above the law. I can't look you straight. Cash Patel wants you to know. Violent crime is down, allegedly, according to the FBI here now. They say violent crime in America is down 10.6%, murders down 23%, rape down 18.6%, robbery down 19.6%, and aggravated assault down 7.2%. They're bragging up the drop in violent crime here. The largest ever, they tell us, in 90 years or something, and it was down like 9%. Police state and cameras up everybody's rear end, and crime's down 9% nationally. Just lock yourself in a little room and you'll be safe too. ABC files First Amendment lawsuit against FCC claiming Trump administration retaliatory campaign against its speech. I don't know if you guys saw, and I'm not going to play it because they always tag it with copyright, but Rosie O'Donnell took over the late night show of the stupid, I can't remember his stupid name, late night show, and she did pretty good by most reports, not spending it all on bashing Trump. But let's give Rosie O'Donnell a little credit. She's been calling out Trump for a long time there in New York, saying what a scumbag, con man, piece of garbage he is. We should have probably listened to Rosie, because it's turning out her allegations on the money. Disney-owned ABC files First Amendment lawsuit against FCC. The lawsuit comes after the FCC began an early broadcast license renewal process tied to Disney DEI practices. The lawsuit, ABC is calling for the FCC to halt its early broadcast renewal proceedings. Jimmy Kimmel is who Rosie O'Donnell's guest hosting for this week. Who even watches it anyway? You know what I mean? I see clips here and there, but like whatever. It's all garbage. Throw your TV out the window. All right. Blasting through today, doing pretty well on the time I see. Let's flash back now to Sinead O'Connor. She was calling back this satanic PDF network a long time ago. She was naming the Pope as part of it. Flashback to Sinead O'Connor, 1992.
We know we will win. We have confidence in in the victory of good over evil.
Fight the real enemy, she said, and then she threw it. And of course, that was the Pope at the time, Pope Paul II. And it essentially, her protests there saying she was abused by the Catholic Church essentially ended her music career for the time being there. Very bold at the time, 1992, to publicly declare it. More of these instances of celebrities on the back of Hayden Panettiere dying of alleged drug overdose after she had exposed Hollywood sex trafficking 3 months earlier. Flashback to Anne Heche. Remember this incident when she was allegedly on drugs, drunk, wrecked her car, and then turns out she wasn't dead. They have her in the freaking body bag. Remember this crazy scene? Anne Heche on the stretcher, getting put in the back of the ambulance, tries to escape the body bag before she's finally done in, and alleged that she had turned on Ellen DeGeneres there in Hollywood and was beginning to expose the child abuse and trafficking going on. There she is trying to escape, and no, they put her right back in there, and we were never to see Anne Heche alive again after that. Federal judge orders release of Virginia Giuffre's case files at last. Virginia Giuffre's 2015 civil lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell is going to be unsealed. A federal court in Manhattan last week ordered the public release of the files from Giuffre's defamation lawsuit against the accomplice and partner of Epstein, Maxwell, following 8 years of litigation from the Miami Herald. Reporter Julie Brown, the investigative journalist for the paper best known for uncovering Epstein's crimes. Maxwell had been fighting to keep the lawsuit details under wraps, but her arguments were not enough to convince U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska, who ruled that the Epstein Files Transparency Act supersedes, the grand jury arguments Maxwell cited to keep the records sealed. So there's a few rulings been going on. The DOJ doesn't seem to care what courts rule, so we'll follow that and report once the files are released. Harvard still employs professor whose emails with Epstein mentioned spies and torture. So that's a good of Harvard. Even as the class of 2030 prepares to arrive to the Harvard campus in 2 weeks, it's not yet clear how much longer Martin Nowak, who cryptically discussed a captured spy and torture in the Epstein files and emails. He's still on Harvard's payroll. They did get rid of they kicked old Larry Summers out, right? And so tracking this Professor Martin Nowak, talking about captured spies and torture in the Epstein files. All right. Right down the road from me, this lady out of Madera, California. It's right up the road from me here, not very far. Threatening to rob white people. Starting a black militia, she claims, to rob white people.
Hey, I'm starting a black militia. So if you're black, if you want to shoot some guns, come find me. We're going to rob some white people.
Police are investigating. Investigating these videos posted to Instagram by a special education teacher for the Madera Unified School District. In one clip, Kanisha Daly of Fresno says she's starting a black militia and will rob some white people. Other videos on Daly's Instagram captured by concerned citizens show her with a handgun and then what appears to be a long gun. She's laughing. She thinks it's funny. The videos were quickly met with strong online backlash and a multi-agency investigation. Fresno and Madera Police and the Madera Unified School District all told Action News they're aware of the videos and looking into them. In the meantime, the Lincoln Elementary School special education teacher was placed on leave and under a temporary restraining order.
What an idiot, man. She needs special education. Can't be posting these threatening videos. 14 charged on alleged Penn State cocaine ring, report out of ZBS News.
Fraternities at Penn State University are at the center of a highly profitable cocaine ring, according to state prosecutors, who say the drugs were cut and packaged right there in the frat houses, sometimes by pledges. Among those charged, 13 current and former students and one student's father. More now from CBS's Michael George.
Investigators say all but one of the 14 charged were Penn State students at the time of the alleged criminal conduct. Pennsylvania's Attorney General Dave Sunday says the drug operation was run inside two fraternity houses in 2023 and 2024.
Cocaine was primarily packaged at the fraternity houses, and in fact, we found a pattern of events that showed cutting and bagging cocaine was, for some pledges, an indoctrination into the Delta Upsilon and Sigma Chi fraternities.
Authorities say the two main dealers were senior members of the fraternities.
Agostino Abatiello was at the very top of the chain. Thomas Robinson was a rung below that on the ladder.
According to the criminal complaint, the drugs were sold at parties and other college social events. One defendant is accused of buying more than 5 pounds of cocaine in a 9-month period. 6 defendants are facing felony charges. 8 others are charged with misdemeanors. Penn State says it's placing Delta Upsilon on interim suspension pending an investigation. It says Sigma Chi isn't recognized by the university.
The packaging happened at off-campus fraternity houses.
And there was one non-student charged. Paul Robinson, the father of one of the suspects. Authorities say he concealed evidence, including a safe containing drugs and cash.
Hidden AI-related commitments are skyrocketing among big tech companies. We've been talking about this a while now. It's all coming to light. The circle jerk known as the financial markets here, propped up by fraud from big tech. The 9 U.S. tech firms have $3 trillion in off-balance sheet commitments. They're hiding their debt. They're bankrupt, essentially, including leases for data centers and power infrastructure that have not yet commenced, as well as purchase commitments for AI-related equipment and services. This is roughly triple the amount that these firms report on their balance sheets in leases and long-term debt. They're insolvent. They're lying criminals. The SEC is looking the other way, now complicit in this criminal conspiracy. This also compares to $600 billion in CapEx reported over the last year. Alphabet, Google alone posted an increase of more than 800+% in off-balance sheet obligations, more than 7 times its increase in CapEx. This was followed by Meta, which reported an increase of more than 750% in such obligations, more than 9 times the increase in CapEx over the same time period. AI infrastructure is driving one of the largest corporate investment waves in history. And here's a nice little graph to show you the fraud. This is what they claim their debts are on their balance sheet. This is what their real debts when we add them up, and should actually all be on their balance sheet. But they're playing a bunch of these accounting games and not being forthright and honest. All these companies are hype, man, with government backing to build scientific dictatorship, technocracy. That's the only thing keeping this whole thing going. There is no demand. Nobody wants data centers and cameras up your rear end. Literally no one wants this, but the Technate, the Greater North America Project. Amazing. U.S. interest expense on the national debt hit a record 1.4 trillion with a T, 1.4 trillion over the last 12 months. Since 2020, the cost of servicing U.S. public debt has nearly tripled. If rates remain stable, interest payments are set to rise to 1.7 trillion with a T by November 2028. As a result, interest will surpass Social Security spending as the government's largest outlay for the first time. America's debt bill is spiraling out of control. You think we're going to get to the point at some point here in the not too distant future, and it's already starting to happen, where they're not going to be able to finance the debt anymore because no one will buy the debt because the risk is too high, and we can't sustain the interest payments alone, never mind actually paying the debt back. You can see right here, it's quite horrific. This line is almost going vertical here now. It may go vertical in November of 28. And then a meme snapshot from Amanda Goodall. I just saw this scrolling through the X, and it represents perfectly the Jenga house of cards that is all these markets and all their fake evaluations and all their fake stock prices. The circle jerk of the U.S. economy in cyberspace, essentially, not Main Street, Wall Street. A great representation of these two lying criminal companies. Well, they all are, right? I like how they put JP Morgan right here in the center, because they're the big gangsters propping all of this up at the end of the day. University of California professors are calling for SATs to be reinstated in admissions, arguing that some incoming students are struggling with high school level work. The UC system dropped the standardized testing requirement in 2020. I've seen reports college professors are saying they're literally getting illiterate students that can't even read. Public education, bro. You and I are struggling to put groceries on the table on Main Street, but Wall Street and the military industrial complex are profiteering handsomely at the same time. GE Aerospace just got awarded a giant contract by the U.S. Air Force. Let's watch this report. A big old contract for these jet engines. It must be nice to have your company based on murdering people. U.S. government pays handsomely.
Look at this monster here, Flying Lab. Tonight, a behind-the-scenes look at the extreme testing methods on a product designed and built in Cincinnati jet engine.
Yeah, so GE Aerospace has a way of testing the engines using fighter pilots' sensitive data recorders and a 747 to push new designs to the limit. Our WLWT News 5's Brian Hamrick has the story.
Well, this isn't a view of the 747 you usually get, but the folks who fly this plane, they're not in it for the view.
You can't buy a ticket for this plane, and you probably wouldn't want to. Not with goals like this.
We are not nice to these engines at all.
And buckle your seatbelt because it gets more dicey.
We put them through the harshest conditions we can.
Despite the wings, jet engine, and cockpit, it's not entirely an airplane. It's a GE Aerospace laboratory.
So this is our 747-400 flying testbed aircraft.
Come on up. Nathan Camps is GE's principal test flight engineer. What they do is test commercial GE aircraft engines under the most extreme conditions.
Our whole point is to go gather the engineering and certification.
It's so rad. How much is that even worth? Did they even say here? They got a giant contract for these engines from the Air Force. They didn't say in this report what the contract was valued at. Great report there out of the local Channel 5. They didn't even say what it was. Oh, here we go. Oh, remember we're going to audit Fort Knox. We got Rand Paul assuring us the gold's there. We're going to get Doge checks. We're going to get, some other check? I can't even remember all the lies that Trump and Elon Musk and the rest of these bastards have told us over the last year and a half. Taiwan is giving every citizen $314 cash, calling it an AI dividend from its booming semiconductor-driven economy. First half growth hit 14.15%, the strongest growth Taiwan has seen in 50 years. Defense spending also hit a record, crossing 3% of GDP for the first time. But the citizens of Taiwan are going to receive a, quote, AI dividend. Now, all we get here in America is cameras up our rear end. All right, let's take a live commercial break here now. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Thanks for hanging that first hour with me on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there. We have the white background sticker and the clear background sticker. weaponizednews.com/shop. The link's in the description below this video. We have the stickers. We have baseball caps, t-shirts, coffee mugs, sweatshirts, shot glasses. As some in the audience say, this show may induce heavy bouts of drinking. We have all kinds of different gear over there. Weaponized News gear at weaponizednews.com/shop. Go take a look. We would appreciate your patronage. If you don't want to patron the store, we do take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App links, all in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack channel. Over there, you'll get the show streaming live right now. You'll get the full show, a summary of the show, and links to almost everything we talk about for documentation and further research purposes. It's all free, nothing behind a paywall. Show your support for independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern Time, Weaponized News Substack. Become an unpaid subscriber. I know the economy's rough for all of us. Become a paid subscriber and support our efforts here at Weaponized News to bring you non-partisan reporting and breaking through the propaganda and lies and mind control of the government and your Mockingbird media. Thank you for your attention to that matter. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Tuesday, August 18th, 2026 edition. Thank you for joining us. All right, on to the national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline. We're up to $4.07 on average. You can see here I'm rounding up. $4.06 5, so we just round up to 7, right? So we'll call it $4.07 a gallon, up a little, a smidgen from yesterday, not much. Yeah, it was $4.06 yesterday, $4.07 yesterday, but that's not the real story. The real story is the cost of diesel. Before we get to that, as per usual, Brown University, International and Watson School of International and Public Affairs, Iran War Energy Cost Tracker. The consumer burden since the beginning of the Iran war on February 28, 2026 is now $86.9 billion. And I do believe it's even higher than this, I always say, because I do believe that, but we'll just go with their numbers for now. Conservatively speaking, per U.S. household, cost spread across both diesel and gasoline is up to $663.18. I know, but my gosh, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Bullshit. Our own intelligence community and the State Department both said Iran's not an imminent nuclear threat to the United States. So just save it. We've already thoroughly debunked Trump's claims from government sources here at Weaponized News in real time. The real story of the day here now, though, is, well, let's watch this report. It is the U.S. diesel cracks spread has shattered historical records, surpassing $100 a barrel for the first time in history. The measure is the premium of U.S. ultra low sulfur diesel, ULSD, futures over West Texas Intermediate, WTI, crude oil futures, and it has reached an all-time high of $102.20 a barrel due to acute global supply disruptions, i.e. the Iran war. Before the outbreak of the Iran war, normal historical diesel crack spreads typically average between $15 and $25 a barrel. Bob McNally, founder of Ripidan Energy Group and former White House energy advisor, cited direct hits to physical refining infrastructure in Russia as also playing a key role. He says high diesel prices are a critical macro indicator to watch. Again, there's an engineered energy crisis blowing up petroleum factories all over the world, leading to global engineered famine, leading to global engineered depopulation. Let's watch this report from CNBC from Bob McNally. I'm going to see it trickle down to everything, the cost of food, to transport, virtually everything here now with these high diesel prices.
Conflict spreading. It was just a matter of time for the Houthis to get involved. So now, while we have some good days in terms of getting some more oil out of Hormuz, we're getting some transits up to, on a given day, maybe 9 million barrels a day, maybe 7. But then that's offset by a loss from Yanbu. It's also spread, Carl, to Russia. We were saying that the Ukrainians are going to take down so much refining capacity in Russia that the world's second largest diesel exporter, Russia, after the United States, was going to have to reduce and now ban its exports. And so just this morning before we went on, the margin of turning crude oil into diesel fuel took out $100 a barrel itself. That's just the margin. So it's a historic day, and the conflict is spreading. It's not just about Hormuz anymore.
Yeah, we have those diesel crack spreads, a big discussion late last week. I think it was Goldman that said maybe diesel is the ultimate geopolitical hedge. Do you consider it sort of the locus of pain around the world?
It is. It is, because diesel is the most economically embedded fuel we have. My friend Kevin Book was on with you this morning today, and he pointed out, and he's right, it's in transportation, it's in heating fuel, it's in agriculture, It's in industrial uses. Diesel, gas oil, yeah, it's the most widely sort of economically used fuel. Gasoline's great. We all talk about gasoline because we all tank up. But around the world, the main product is diesel. So it is the important macro fuel to watch. And again, it is taking out $100 a barrel margin, all-time historic high, and still rising.
And that's going to lead to millions of people in the third and fourth world starving to death. Okay? And we're going to see implications here from fertilizer and the diesel and other fuel costs and other inputs into agriculture. We're going to feel the pain here in America as well. Those in the third and fourth world, millions will starve to death. Tens of millions are going to be plunged into poverty if they're not already. We will see the implications of blowback here in America. Go USA, Trump, MAGA with your stupid red hat. Iranian military warns shipping companies against supporting U.S. military operations. An Iranian military official has warned that shipping companies involved in meeting U.S. military needs against the country will face consequences. Noor News reported. Iran is closely monitoring the commercial and maritime networks supporting U.S. operations, and any company, ship owner, or service provider that knowingly plays a role in meeting U.S. military needs against Iran will face legal, economic, and counter-sanctioned consequences, the Iranian news outlet said. The official also went on to say, the transport of fuel, ammunition, equipment, food, and other items needed by U.S. troops will not be seen by Iran as, quote, merely a commercial activity, but it would be viewed as supporting Washington in its war on Iran. All major shipping services have been warned. War is not only costly on the battlefield. Those who knowing the nature of the mission provide the commercial and logistic infrastructure for military operations against Iran cannot expect their role to remain hidden from Iran, the military source said. Kind of like Russia, Iran saying the same thing. It makes sense. Because when it first started, they're like, oh my gosh, Iran's gone crazy. They're striking all their neighbors. They're hitting the UAE, the Bahrain, all. Bro, that's where U.S. bases are and where the attacks were coming from. That's where they counterattack back to. Give me a friggin' break. And so now they're saying the same thing Russia says. If we can link it back to you, that's where the attack came from. We're going to attack you, bro. Russia has said the same thing. We're going to take it, even though you're using proxies, we're going to take it as if you did it, and we can see through your proxy, right? Iran detains 5 vessels near Strait of Hormuz over fuel smuggling claims. Iranian authorities detained 5 vessels in the waters off Surik and seized 3,400 liters of smuggled diesel fuel. Now we're going to get down to smuggling diesel fuel, according to the commander of the Minab naval base, which was destroyed many times over, but somehow they still have a naval base and a commander there seizing diesel. The commander said border guards discovered the fuel during inspections of the detained vessels. The seized shipment was estimated to be worth $152,999 roughly. 5 suspects were arrested during the operation, and after cases were opened against them, were handed over to judicial authorities for legal proceedings in Iran. Chinese shipping giants halt oil tanker routes through Hormuz and Bab al-Mandab 2 major Chinese shipping companies have stopped sending oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz and Bab al-Mandab. Instead, arranging oil cargoes outside the Gulf, according to Reuters, citing 3 industry executives, tanker trackers, and a ship broker. State-owned COSCO Shipping, Energy Transportation, and China Merchants Energy ships have kept their tankers away from both checkpoints since late July. Verexa tracking data and ship brokers showed as security concerns disrupt crude shipments to the world's largest oil importer. The 2 companies' decision to avoid both waterways followed communications with central authorities, according to a state oil trading executive and 2 Chinese shipping executives familiar with the situation. It's closed, man. It's U.S. territory and it's closed. So good job there, Trump. UAE halts all trade and financial transactions with Iran. And there was a report that they were trying to claim earlier today Iran was shooting missiles or drones at UAE. Turns out maybe that wasn't the case. There's these little flare-ups ongoing there. Trump is weighing a last-minute deal with Canada to avert 50% tariffs set to take effect at midnight. The proposed agreement would have Canada ease retaliatory measures and make dairy concessions, while the U.S. could reduce some auto tariffs, according to a report out of Politico. NBC News reports Russia steps up military resupply of Iran via Caspian Sea. Russia has started transporting explosives, ammunition, and drone components across the Caspian Sea to help Iran replenish its missile and drone supplies after U.S. aardvark land strikes. A European government document cited by NBC News today said the maritime route allows the 2 countries to move military cargo directly between Russian and Iranian ports. Former Ukrainian Minister of Defense Fedorov, this dude, he's been talking it up the last couple of days. This dude, Fedorov, said Russia doesn't just take our land, it wants to prove that the Ukrainian model of freedom doesn't work. That is why Ukraine must prove the opposite. Ukraine can fight a war and remain a democracy at the same time. We must not allow Putin to decide when Ukrainians can elect their government. Only America's allowed to do that. Oh, side note, sorry. Got thrown off track there. Ukrainian democracy must not depend on the goodwill of the Kremlin. And we're like 2 years, they haven't had elections there in Ukraine, with Zelensky acting as de facto dictator for Ukrainian democracy. We wouldn't have it any other way. He's also calling, Fedorov is also calling for restoring elections even during a prolonged war, saying Ukraine must find a, quote, legal, safe, and realistic mechanism to resume the democratic process. He argued that democracy cannot be held hostage by Russia and that Putin should not determine when Ukrainians can elect their government. Damn evil Putin. Here's that clip. Things are escalating, man. It's not winding down, it's winding up. Russia's foreign minister Lavrov said Russia has the right to regard Britain's direct involvement in strikes against Russia as participation in the war, with all the ensuing consequences. We see through your proxy, we're blaming you, bro. Basically, that's what Iran and Russia are saying with all the different proxies of the West Anglo-American establishment, UK, America attacking them. We're this close. Paper thin margin there. Close to direct war between Russia and UK. What does new puppet there in UK say? Prime Minister Andy Burham on Ukraine says, we support Ukraine 100% against this illegal war led by Vladimir Putin. We are providing support so that Ukraine can defend itself, and that's been the British position all the way through this conflict. True, but what has changed is the long-range strikes by Ukraine into Russia, hitting Moscow, blowing up their freaking Amazon, their wild berries, targeting civilian infrastructure, targeting the petroleum manufacturing capacity. And so that is what has changed. And Russia said for a long time that we're going to take it, US, UK, all the rest of you. When you start doing these long-range strikes via your proxy Ukraine, with weapons you provided them, we're going to take that as a direct strike by you. We're there now. Ukraine launches massive drone swarm at Moscow, hits Wildberries logistics hub. We've been covering this. It's ongoing. Again, Wildberries is equivalent to our Amazon here. Same type of e-commerce operation going on there, and they keep bombing the hell out of their warehouses. There, I'm sure, are massive supply shortages going on to their customers. Ukraine launched a massive swarm of drones overnight with 620 drones targeting Moscow region, hitting the largest logistics facility of Russian e-commerce giant Wildberries. Ukraine is increasingly using near real-time commercial satellite imagery to give frontline drone teams accurate information on Russian positions. Satellite images that once took days to reach soldiers can now arrive in 15 minutes to a few hours, letting drone teams quickly identify Russian troops, equipment, supply routes, and hidden positions. This has made strikes more precise and harder for Russia to evade, and has helped Ukraine target air defenses, electronic warfare systems, logistics, and positions in Crimea and occupied territory. The broader trend is turning satellite intelligence into a frontline tool rather than something used only by senior commanders, according to a report out of the failing New York Times. How satellite advances are changing the game for Ukraine. We need peace. Stop it. We're not going to get it. Obviously, it's the agenda to keep all of these wars going. We're sanctioning who did we sanction before? I think we sanctioned one of them before ICC judges. We sanctioned for Francesca Albanese for putting out those two big reports, linking a bunch of countries to the genocide and a bunch of corporations to the genocide in Gaza. Now we're sanctioning the ICC head of their court. There is, let's see here, there is not a single American citizen under indictment or investigation or facing an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court. There is no active legal proceeding or pending cases against any U.S. citizen at the court. President Trump on July 31st said Secretary Rubio was seeking to destroy the ICC to protect Aardvarkland Prime Minister Milei Bibi Netanyahu. I'm glad our priorities are straight with these maniacs. Here's little Marco Rubio. He says, last month I launched a diplomatic campaign to dismantle the ICC's threat to our national sovereignty. But no, they're not threatening our national sovereignty unless we're actually aardvark land. The Trump administration is sanctioning ICC President Tomoko Kane and senior trial lawyer Abdullah Sia in our unwavering mission to protect Americans from this sham of a court. But no Americans are having problems with this court. In honor of our Declaration of Independence, Americans will never be transported beyond seas to be tried for pretend offenses. The State Department and Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio seem to be very confused about who the Americans are and who they are not. They are not the aardvark land. Shocking, I know. So this lady now is sanctioned out of Western banking, essentially. For the crime of calling out the aardvarks for genocide. But thankfully, they're putting up their puppet governments all over the world, so not much to worry about for the Zionists, is there now? Colombia is set to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. U.S. War Secretary Hegseth has explicitly urged allies to leave the ICC, calling it fake and illegitimate. Yeah, I think they also indicted Putin. We hate Putin, right? For war crimes as well. No? Okay. Colombia would be the first major Latin American state to leave, joining Venezuela, Chad, and Sahel states in 2026 wave of ICC departures. They found their moral compass. It has nothing to do with Zionist takeover. There's a quasi-secret giant drug war going on here, very underreported. Go to U.S. Southern Command. You could see them bragging it up there. There is a drug war in Mexico, Central, and South America, part of shoring up U.S. monopoly on global contraband trade and to shore up the Greater North America Project as well. U.S. Southern Command says the time is now to take the fight to the cartels. During my visit to Ecuador today, Minister of Defense Lafredo, Chief of Defense Delgado Salvador, and I submitted our joint commitment to combat cartels and narco-terrorists in the Western Hemisphere. This is a statement by Southcom Commander General Francis L. Donovan. They're not even. And then we had that report, a couple of weeks back, the DEA said all of your efforts blowing up the narco trafficking drug boats have actually increased the supply of cocaine in this country. So congratulations on your extrajudicial killings. You've done nothing but caused innovation in the drug trade, as if that wasn't your intention. Here's a short clip about scientific dictatorship, technocracy, posted by Jason Bassler. This is, of course, Sam Altman, accused of sexually abusing his sister, amongst other crimes. Sam Altman. It will be a perfect surveillance state.
One dystopia that I'm particularly nervous about 10 years from now is we overreact to AI safety. And so we say, look, everyone, you're going to get a cure for cancer. You're going to have material abundance, but you will have no freedom. You will have no agency. It will be a perfect surveillance state. There will be no privacy. And that's what you're going to get. You're going to get great comfort, but there will be nothing left in the world for you to really do. Nothing that really matters. You'll just kind of live at the, service of the AI giving you material wealth.
It's just not true. They're full of shit. They want us to believe that. They want that to be the future. It's up to us. We should not let that be our future. These guys are working on making that our future. Department of War. Department of War posted this. Undersecretary Michael, this character right here, says Undersecretary of Department of War Michael recently met with several Department of War's highest performing Viceroy Maven scholars on the steps of the Pentagon. These scholars participated in an immersive engagement at the Pentagon that highlighted their contributions and the work they completed during their summer internships. Viceroy places approximately 200 elite interns each summer across more than 25 department host sites, working alongside war scientists and engineers. These scholars tackle high-stakes challenges in AI, cybersecurity, software modernization, and the electromagnetic spectrum. Over 60% of Viceroy scholars transition directly into federal, state, Department of War, or defense industrial base roles after graduation. Their technical expertise and active contributions help ensure the joint forces maintains its overwhelming lethality. And so these are the young scholars being charged with helping further build out Skynet. And here is the Viceroy Elite Talent Mission Ready. Answer the call, building the next generation of technocrats. No, of leaders, it says here. That's the future generation that's going to build out the Skynet. The only question left is, can it become fully self-aware? I don't think so, but they're working on it. They are working at it at the Department of War. Flashback, what do you do with a drunken Hegseth? This clip illustrates the fact that there are these religious fanatics that think they're going to bring back the second coming and build the third temple. There, Solomon's third temple. Let's watch this is an old clip of now Secretary of the Department of War, Pete Hegseth. He's all in on this delusional fulfillment of biblical prophecy, in large part engineered by the Zionists. So remember this clip.
Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the Western Wall of the Temple Mount, the Western Wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle, 1948 was a miracle, 1967 was a miracle, 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle, and there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible. I don't know how it would happen, You don't know how it would happen, but I know that it could happen. That's all I know.
This guy should be in no position of power. They should actually all be locked up in the insane asylum. We'll get to how it's going to happen. The aardvarks are in there praying at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We'll get to that report. Show you what sick degenerates these freaks are with their Noahide censorship laws. Randy Fine, Mike Caruso, and Ron DeSantis. Mike Caruso co-authored Florida's IHRA anti-Septicism censorship bill signed by Ron DeSantis in Aardvark land in 2023, was arrested this morning for child molestation. This guy right here. And many commenters say that he will flee to Aardvark land as per usual. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And they'll say that's justice and don't be an anti-septic hater. You're like, but bro, he's a child molester. And they're like, that's their thing. The Aardvark government secretly funded Christians United for Aardvark land and the Christian Zionist group Eagle's Wings to shill for Aardvark land. Aardvark reporter tells Al Jazeera. Let's watch this clip posted by Information Liberation Chris Meehan.
They wanted to fund American organizations to combat the BDS movement. But the Foreign Agent Act of the USA requires all organizations getting funds from other governments to be registered. The Ministry of Strategic Affairs used an organization named Concert as a buffer to channel the money. The Ministry of Strategic Affairs was fully aware that this was a problem with the laws of the United States of America. The Director General of the Ministry of Strategic Affairs said it in an open Knesset hearing.
קונסרט הוקמה ב-2018 כחלק מההבנה של המשרד שהיא יש לארגונים יהודים בעולם או פרו-ישראלים בעיה לעבוד עם ממשלת ישראל. ובצדק, ההבנה הייתה כשהקימו אותו שיהיה להם יותר קל לבוא מול חלץ אזרחי מאשר מול פעולה שממשלת ישראל עומדת בפרונט. בסוף אתה רואה העברה בנקאית מחלץ ולא העברה בנקאית מממשלת ישראל. זה הרעיון.
We found out that all kinds of organizations in America were getting funds from the Israeli government.
CUFI stands against BDS, which is economic anti-Semitism.
John Hagee's Christians United for Israel got around $1.3 million. Half of that came from the Israeli government and the other half from Concert confidential donors.
And we need to fight this evil darkness until it is destroyed in our Congress, in our churches, in our colleges and universities, and in our nation.
The supporters of BDS today may not be using guns and bombs, but they have the same goal as ISIS, Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, the complete destruction of the Jewish state. Christians United for Israel is fighting back against this BDS movement.
BDS constitutes commercial discrimination against Israel on the basis of national origin. This movement employs classic anti-Semitic themes, blood libels, and that's a real danger.
We still don't have the full picture, but I can say as a fact that the Israeli government allocated millions of dollars in order to change the American political discourse about Israel.
מי שיחרים אותנו מוחרם בעצמו. בשנים האחרונות קידמנו בארצות הברית, ויש כבר ברוב המדינות שם, חוקים שמי שמחרים את ישראל נענש בעצמו. אז זה לא יעזור להם, אנחנו לא מתרגשים מזה, ואנחנו נלחמים בזה.
Yeah, none of this evil is sustainable, just like our national debt. Remember how Trump assured MAGA on the campaign trail that Jared Kushner would not be part of his second administration. We've talked about it much here. Seems his job in the second administration is to start a bunch of illegal foreign wars of aggression. Flashback, this was also posted by Information Liberation. Trump says Ivanka and Jared Kushner won't be part of his potential second term. My family's been through hell, all professional wrestling, and total bullshit. They are. And then here's old Randy Fine, congressman out of Florida, campaigning, committing a federal crime. You're not allowed to spy on people's mail. Will it be enforced? Obviously not. But over $500,000 from pro-Aardvark political action committees. And here he is looking through one of his constituents' mail as he's out on the campaign. He needs to walk a lot, like 1 million steps a day, because he's an obese, disgusting creature. Here he is committing a federal crime on camera. Is looking a crime? Maybe not. I guess he would have to actually steal it, but still highly inappropriate. You don't go to people's house, start looking through their mail. There's no bounds because there's no accountability for this evil, so they know no limits. Aardvark land bombs Syrian military base as U.S. praises Damascus's de-escalatory stance policy toward Tel Aviv. It almost got real ugly with Turkey potentially getting involved here. Aardvark land launched a new wave of strikes earlier today against Syria, despite no threat being posed to it by the extremist-led authorities in Damascus, which fought against Tel Aviv's adversaries for years. The new Aardvark land strikes hit the Abdul al-Duhar military base in the countryside of the northern city of Idlib earlier today. Syria's foreign ministry released a statement condemning the attack. It describes Aardvark land strikes as an unjustified act of aggression and a dangerous escalation threatening regional security and stability. So they're saying Turkey was there trying to help them rebuild and do some training and whatnot at this base. And Turkey almost fired upon the Aardvark land warplanes. They should have actually. I mean, how much can you take here? So Syria accuses Aardvark land of striking airfield in northwest. 8 Aardvark land airstrikes hit the runway there in Abdul Duhur Air Base in Syria's northwestern Idlib province. U.S. envoy to Damascus, Tom Barak, said earlier today that Washington was, quote, deeply concerned by confirmed Aardvark land airstrikes on the base, calling them an unnecessary escalation that did not advance regional stability. They almost kicked it off with Turkey today. They almost got whacked by Turkey, and that would have started freaking probably World War III. Who knows? With these maniacs. Something's going to give here now. U.S. envoy Tom Barak revealed Turkey received no warnings of Aardvarkland strikes on Syria's Abdul al-Duhur airbase near its border, forcing Washington to push for a trilateral deconfliction link, is the language they're using here now. Milei Bibi Netanyahu's office said Aardvarkland and Syria agreed to a status quo in security matters, which Syria was on the verge of breaching by permitting Turkish troops to deploy at an airbase near Aleppo. Aardvarkland repeatedly warned Syria that such a deployment would pose a threat to Aardvarkland security. Syria chose to ignore these warnings. Aardvarkland will not tolerate threats to its security and would welcome a return to the status quo. A Sydney, Australia library removed the book How to Sell a Genocide, which critiques U.S. media coverage of Gaza and a complaint reportedly from a Bondi Beach terror attack survivor who found it distressing on the new releases bookshelf at the library. Author Adam Johnson responded, "Genocide is not my word. It is the overwhelming consensus of the human rights world. Reality is often unsettling, especially to the parents of over 20,000 children killed by Aardvarkland in Gaza." The Palestinian Advocacy Network said, "History has taught us too well what happens when books start getting banned." Call me crazy, but these Zionists act just like freaking the dreaded Nazis. They're acting just like it. They're numbering their prisoners. We'll get to that report later. Aardvarkland Finance Minister Smotrich said God speaks to us through the Torah and tells us how to act, how to manage the state of Aardvarkland. Their God's pure evil. If he's saying their God is telling them how to act. Smotrich went on to say about Trump's peace plan, Palestinian Authority supports terrorism. We do not sacrifice our lives and pay such a price for 3 years just to trade one donkey for another and hand Gaza over now to another enemy. They're never giving any of it up. There is no two-state solution. They're taking all of that land for the greater Aardvarkland project. They're taking Syria. They're taking Gaza. They're taking the occupied West Bank. They're taking Lebanon. They may very well, they're going to take some of Jordan and some of Egypt. On to Houthis now. Ansarallah claims drone attack on Aramco refinery in Saudi Arabia. Yemen's Ansarallah targeted the oil refinery on Saudi Arabia's southern Red Sea coast earlier today, according to Sabah news agency. Ansarallah targeted the oil refinery in Jazan with a number of drones in response to airspace violations over the governates of Sada and Hajjah in Yemen. So war going on there now as well. Saudi-backed Yemeni army strikes Ansarallah's positions in Al-Jawf. Saudi Arabia-backed Aden government Yemeni army carried out strikes against Ansarallah positions in the northern governorate of Al-Jauf. Footage released by the army showed attacks targeting Ansarallah fighters and fortifications in the region. The army also said earlier today that it had targeted Ansarallah vehicles and transport trucks. The latest strikes followed an announcement by the Saudi-backed army yesterday evening that it had conducted 133 military operations against Ansarallah fighters and military capabilities over the preceding 24 hours. According to the military, the operations involved rocket launchers, artillery, and drones, and were aimed at destroying sources of threats to Saudi Arabia posed by the Houthis. We're also looking at a potential civil war kicking off in Iraq. Now, as Iraq government has promised they're going to disarm Iranian proxy Hezbollah militias operating inside Iraq. They're going to disarm them. Iraq's Kat Abid Hezbollah has warned Prime Minister Ali al-Zayed that its patience is running out regarding ongoing security raids targeting the families of resistance fighters and the wounded, threatening retaliation if the operations continue under U.S. supervision, according to 964 Plus News. They're looking at trying to stir up a civil war there in Iraq, trying to disarm, again, these Iranian proxy militia groups, i.e. spin-off Hezbollah groups operating in Iraq. Courtney Bonanu, war correspondent reporting there from Lebanon, says, let's not forget that Aardvark Land hunts children and kills them for sport. Referring to a post she made on May 9th, says, update, the 12-year-old girl I mentioned in this story who was hunted down by an Aardvark Land drone has died from her injuries. Reminder, Aardvark Land hunts down children and kills them for sport. Who would claim them as your greatest ally and want anything to do with these maniacs? Well, the U.S. government. Aardvark Land artillery shelled the western outskirts there of Mahul in Mar Janoun district and fired several shells at the outskirts of Majidil Zun in Tyre district earlier today. Aardvark Land warplanes also struck Montessori in Tyre district at dawn. The demolition, ethnic cleansing, and genocide of Lebanon continues. Images from that attack. Oh, but there's more. Aardvark Land occupation forces carry out combing operations near residential homes in Hadatha in southern Lebanon and in Adi al-Jabil. Here's a video of those attacks earlier today. It's off in the distance. There you go. Another one. Ongoing leveling the place, as we report every day here now. Aardvark Land occupation forces deliberately burn a villa in southern Lebanese village of Zawatar al-Shakwari. Aardvark Land occupation forces have targeted and burned hundreds of homes in Southern Lebanon in the last few weeks. Here's the latest earlier today. They're picking up the arson campaign and the scorched earth ecocide campaign against Lebanon. Haditha, Southern Lebanon, artillery shelling reported earlier today. Here's a short clip of that. Only 3% of Gaza's cropland remains usable, the UN reports. Just 3% of Gaza's cropland remains both accessible and undamaged, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization warned earlier today based on analysis of satellite imagery. They're salting the land, salting the earth. You will not return. Poison it with white phosphorus, glyphosate, other chemicals, destroying any type of agricultural production capability there. So you will, and they're digging up the graves, desecrating the graves, destroying any of their holy sites. There will be, and just straight up killing as many people as they can as well. There will be no reason to return to this land because it will be uninhabitable. It essentially is now. Aardvark Land spent over $140 billion over the last 3 years to finance genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. Aardvark Land expects military spending to exceed $500 billion in the next decade. That's a report out of Aardvark newspaper, Haaretz. I'm sure we'll prop them up with some more funding here from America. Another Palestinian child dies due to Aardvark Land's deliberately imposed hunger crisis in Gaza. Since the beginning of the siege, Aardvark Land has allowed in only 35.3% of minimal agreed to aid deliveries. Famine was confirmed in Gaza City in August 2025. And while the hunger crisis has eased from last year, it remains severe. The IPC warns that 74,200 children could require treatment for acute malnutrition through April 2027. Remember, they're saying, oh, we're the humanitarian society. Come here and get a bowl of rice. Boom. And they would shoot them. Remember that? With linked up with U.S. mercenary groups. Remember all that? I do. I remember reporting on it, how horrific it all is. Gaza's Ministry of Health has recorded at least 420 hunger-related deaths, including 145 hunger-related deaths of children since October 2023. And they have the images. I'm not going to show them here, but of a sucked-up Palestinian child there with starving to death, part of the siege on Gaza. And they're not sieging them. They're just straight up whacking them. Aardvark Land strike kills 7 Palestinians, including a child on Gaza City Beach Cafe in the latest round of attacks. I guess we can show this. All that's left is some shoes and some blood spilled there. Yeah, we'll leave it there. It's ongoing. The strike comes after a 4-hour meeting between Kushner, who Trump promised would not be part of his administration, another lie from Trump, after Kushner met up with Milei Bibi Netanyahu. Yesterday, yeah. essentially signing off on the genocide continuing. An elderly woman sits drenched in blood after having her hand blown off. There's an image of it. I don't think I'll show it either, but the woman's hand is blowing off. She was one of those injured, one of the 14 injured. 7 were outright killed. She's still alive, but with no hand. Yeah, we showed the kid's shoes and the blood there. So, yeah, blew her hand off. She's in shock on the stretcher. I think I won't show you the image. And a giant shrapnel wounds on the face and the hand blowing off in that same attack. Palestinian here says we don't know what we're supposed to deal with anymore. Do we deal with aardvarks or the sun burning us up inside tents, or the water walking, or the water waking up at 6 a.m. to go get water, or deal with the winter that is still coming? When will also suffer from the weather. And that was an interview. He was one of the survivors of this latest, essentially bombing refugees in tents is what it amounts to there on the Gaza Strip. Multiple casualties reported after aardvark land attack. See, they whacked their tent. You can see right here. So every time there's a meeting with the peace board and aardvark land, they do a hit job. It's like clockwork. Oh, they're going to have a peace meeting? You could count on them doing a big hit job. Should bet on that on your prediction markets. I bet you win 100% of the time. Not saying do that. I'm just saying, making that point. It's a continuing trend we're noticing. Every time a peace talk is going to happen, they do a big hit job. Yeah, just more about it. Kids there. They killed kids who were refugees living in tents. Final section of the show, the occupied West Bank. Here's the video. They're marking them up. Remember the famous IBM tattoos to count up the concentration camp prisoners there in World War II? Well, they're doing the same thing now to Palestinians there in the occupied West Bank. Here's the video. Dude has the 44. I've seen it written on their forearm, on their foreheads. Never again, they tell us. Well, they're doing this damn same thing the Nazis did.
انقباضي أسير محرر للمرة الرابعة. روحت قبل 10 أيام واليوم كانت قوات الاحتلال باقتحام البلدة.
There's another video, again, with it on their forearms. Aardvark land military admits occupation soldiers wrote identification numbers in marker on foreheads and forearms of detained Palestinians. They're salting the earth. They're poisoning the well. We're noticing a continuing trend carried out by these ultra-Zionists. Overnight, ultra-Zionist settlers sabotaged a water pipe supplying the Palestinian communities of Gaza and Al-Ras al-Amir, east of Tabalus in the occupied West Bank. There you go. I'm sure it was the Palestinians, just like how Putin blew up his own pipeline. I'm sure the Palestinians went ahead and sabotage their own water supply because they're terrorists. Aardvark land forces carried out raids from Jeddah to Nablus in the occupied West Bank to Jerusalem areas, attacking and detaining Palestinians at will in the past 24 hours. And they just go through detailing more in this report about it. Aardvark land forces arrest a child doctor and young man in occupied West Bank raids. Aardvark forces arrested 15-year-old after raiding and ransacking his family's home in Anta, northeast occupied Jerusalem earlier today. In Ramallah, Aardvark forces arrested Dr. Dima Amin after raiding her home. Aardvark land forces demolish homes belonging to Palestinian resident in Yasser Ab Shahara. Here's video of that with some bulldozers going in there. They're just leveling the place. Aardvark land settlers protected by IDF set fire to Palestinian-owned land in Al Shua area and the outskirts of Tumurus, northeast of Ramallah. This was last night. The video's that night, but you could see the fire burning here now, as the ultra-Zionist settlers have escalated to full-on arson campaigns. Along with the rest of their terrorism. And then finally here, we're getting close because they're getting more bold, more bold. You can see in their attacks. Aardvark land formally allows Aardvark prayer at Al-Aqsa Mosque for the first time. They're trying to provoke these Muslims to make a move to do World War III type invasion to kick the whole thing off, man. They want to kick it off. They go into Jordan. They're terrorists there in Jordan too. The whole same routine to take more land, to keep this whole thing going, to fulfill their evil prophecies, you see. Aardvark land authorities formally permitted Aardvark prayer inside Al-Aqsa Mosque for the first time, marking an unprecedented change to the decades-old status quo governing the occupied East Jerusalem holy site. It's their third highest holy site, right? Middle East Eye reported Aardvark land police on Sunday allowed ultra-Zionist settlers entering the compound to carry Aardvark prayer books and conduct organized group Talmudic satanic prayers. I added that part. The report didn't say that. While Aardvark ultra-Zionist settlers have previously prayed at the site, often with police allowing it, such practices had not been formally authorized under the internationally recognized status quo. The entire 144 Duma Al-Aqsa compound is exclusively Islamic holy site administered by the Jerusalem Islamic Waqf. They're trying to start a holy war with the. I mean, they're already in one, but they're upping it with this act. You see. So any responsible, sane person cannot stand with this. We have a lot of religious fanatics apparently setting our policy and implementing U.S. national security. It's trying to bring about the end of times, the end of days, the apocalypse. They certainly are lifting the veil. They certainly are lifting the veil. So we'll give them that. That's all the reporting I got for today. Let's check out latest headlines. As per usual, of Iran International, have they done heavy kinetic action against Iran since we've been on the air? UAE says it halted all trade with Iran after new ballistic missile launches. We covered that. Iran denies or said it was an accident, that they did not mean to. Or another report I saw is they didn't even do it. Anyway, they say no harm, no foul, UAE is what Iran has said. From the reports I was reading earlier today in that incident, little Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, UAE National Security Advisor, discuss Iran attacks. They're playing it up like it was an Iran attack. Iran says it was no harm, no foul. So we'll see how that plays out. Iran they take credit for their attacks, right? I mean, anyway, maybe it's a new game they're playing. Trump shifts Iran's strategy to hammer and strangle over time. We covered that. France's hostile approach will backfire, Iran parliamentary secretary chief says. That's old Gollyboff dude, I believe. Iran approves new mechanism to diversify crude oil exports. Iran officials say the country will not yield to pressure or threats. And we went over all the details of those statements coming out of Iranian officials earlier today at the beginning of the show. All right, finally here now, headlines out of Al Jazeera. Trump denies talks with Iran. Tehran claims U.S. begging for negotiation. That's hilarious. Both sides, right? It's a Spider-Man meme again. Both sides say, yeah, we're not talking to you. And both sides say the other side's begging to talk to them. It's just completely in it. It's like children, but it's extremely serious here now. With millions of lives in the balance and our freaking both countries' foreign policies, diplomacy acts like the Spider-Man meme. It's a sad state of affairs, honestly, here now we've devolved into. What's been happening in the occupied West Bank? We covered a little bit of that. Terror campaign by ultra-Zionist settlers trying to kick off the, second coming, the whole rest of the routine, as we've gone over in great detail here. All right, friends, let's wrap up this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with me. We kept it to 2 hours, 15 minutes. Not bad. I believe the audio was good today. Don't keep your phone by the microphone, I learned. Let's go to Odysee. And again, it takes like 5 clicks for me to get through to the actual live stream on the Odysee. But I love Odysee. They're the only ones that kept us afloat during the bat time, during the bat time bans. So I do love Odysee. Shout out to Pink on the Odysee. Fat Bob Huffman. 2 million. It should be 6 million. Fat Bob says. Publish a list of who employs and houses all illegals. Pink Vegas says, boom, boom, boom. Right? Couldn't have that for national security. Obama just liked hot dogs and pizza better than Trump. Fat Bob says, indeed. Huffman says, if having no ammo was true, we wouldn't be hearing about it. Just hype to sell more missiles, more military industrial complex hype. Yeah. May very well be part of it. I've had cameras at my rear end. It's called a Colossus. I know, Fat Mom. I know. That's why I say it. That's why I say it. But you get the reference, right? Well, it's like gone too far. The surveillance, literally cameras up our rear end. But a colonoscopy, you get it. Oh my gosh. Fat Bob says, yep, Ellen, all up in the Epstein files. Sandusky, Paterno, Penn State. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, Fat Bob's on it with that Penn State cocaine story. Sandusky, part of the same Epsteiner crew there. Youthful hijinks, nothing more. Oh, man. 5 pounds? They said that one guy bought 5 pounds. How much were they moving? It moves beyond youthful hijinks when you're moving a bunch of pounds of cocaine. You know what I mean? It goes beyond a freaking dime bag or whatever, snorting a line or whatever. They're moving like major weight of cocaine. But I hear you. Biodiesel might be the way forward for regular consumers, Huffman says. Diesel, man. I think I'm glad I bought stored food provisions. Crappy as me too, Fat Bob. Me too. I got like your old freaking army rations, right? But hey, something is better than nothing, than eating your neighbors, right? Vol, shout out to Vol on the test over there. Bubble Boy Rubio. Bubble Boy Rubio. It was rumored little Marco Rubio was having man-on-man relations there at bubble parties. I have a soft spot for Putin for telling Tucker off, Pink says. I remember that. That was, at the time, that was a great interview by Tucker. But yeah, we covered it here. Simon covered it deep dive on it. Audio is good. Thank you, Huffman. All right. You can use USB endoscope for your phone. All right, Huffman. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Let's see. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in on Odysee, X, Bitchute, Substack, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Let me head over to Rumble and YouTube chats. See how crazy it got on the YouTube. Shout out to A-Dub again. Shout out to Susan on the YouTube. Strong on the Rumble. Orange Moron controlled by Zog, Jody says. Shout out to Jan on the Rumble. Did you see that Cheeto is getting sued for breaking the Constitution? I think we did read that report, yeah, about his early access to his True Social, yeah. We did report that. Shout out to Bardo on the Rumble. The Lie House. Pink said publish their They know. Publish the employers. Who's helping these people get by? Come on. If we really wanted to do a dragnet, they could do a dragnet and get them the hell out of here. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Shout out to Snarky Guy. I thought we won like 83 times already. Well, according to my count, 171. But yet the cost of diesel is over $100, and it's looking very bad. Donald Trump decided with North Korea and their dictator over the United States of America and its foreign allies. Come on, man. Don't be a communist. Trump is in the Trumpstein files more than ever. More than he's ever been. Come on, man. We had some good comments from Mr. Boston. Where do you get this information from? Because I see other things than you do. Yeah, I don't know who they were talking to. So, Conversations, well, shout out to you, Mr. Boston. Thank you for tuning in. On the YouTube, Pebble, finally all these needs realizing you pervert still talking about files. LEP. Still talking about files because it's not just Epstein. It's a giant network where it keeps getting uncovered that this is what intelligence agencies are using to control the world, essentially. It's not only about the sex trafficking, it's the spying, the trafficking of information, of contraband. It's about all things vice, illegal, they're into doing, you see. And it's the same network that Epstein was part of. He was a big, whatever you call it, captain or whatever in the big global mafia system. But it's a window into it, is why we can never stop reporting on it. People just want to write it off. That's why when we got this much information, exposed so many of these people, that's why we got to keep reporting on it. Democrats, MAGA, yeah. It doesn't matter. The government wins every election. They're Regina on YouTube. MAGA's witchcraft, Oliver says. Yeah. Trump is a master marketer. He's a dark occultist. He is casting spells. Better believe that. Everglades strikes a drinking water facility for a residential town in southern Lebanon. Bastards. Yeah, I saw that report. I didn't even know. Did I miss that? Yeah, I may have missed that. Thank you, A-Dub. Yeah, they did. I missed the details on that somehow. But yeah, they did. A big old reservoir they blew up. Over there, yep. God will soon destroy the synagogue of Satan. Rothschilds, Bibbies, and Trumps are all bad. Huh. She threatened to have my table taken away. Shout out to ET, to Variant. Oh, from the X. Shout out, Variant. Thank you for tuning in, Variant. I see you share the show sometimes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody, please give us that like, share, subscribe. Push that notification button. Share, share, share. E-Rich. Shout out to you on the YouTube. Great show. A-Dub says, thank you very much. $10. He's sorry, Palladium. Palladium. Sorry for missing your super chats. I did see A-Dubs at the end here. Thank you for the $10 super chat right there from A-Dub. Now I got to go find that report. It shouldn't be that hard to find, right? What was it? Aardvarks blow up reservoir. And they're like, which one? Which time? How many? You can't even do it in a regular search engine. Blow up Southern Lebanon reservoir. Which one? How many times? Yeah, it hasn't even hit the mainstream here. On your mainstream search. Anyway, yeah, I did see that report. I'll have to follow up about it. It was quite horrific, depriving, I forget even how many thousands of people of water. Civilians that have nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's war crimes. And we should not be saying it's okay, because it's not okay, because that can very easily be happening to us. And the rest of the world say that's okay. F America. They looked the other way when all this other stuff went on, and we would have it coming. You know what I mean? Come on, man. Water reservoirs in Lebanon, southern Lebanon residential area. It's at I got one from August 7th. Like, which time? You know what I mean? There's so many. Let's see, most recent. Yeah, I got to get out of here, though. Waiting on Musk to come up with an electric boat. How much a customized toaster is mine? Huh. Yeah, Pop going as planned. My wife's father is from Lebanon. It pisses me off. I hear you, A-Dub. Pisses me off too, because they're going to use all that against us. We can't back it. It's ridiculous. Because if that was happening to us, we would want somebody speaking out and saying that's wrong, evil, it needs to stop. We need peace. You know what I mean? Because that can very well be happening to us here. All right, friends. All right, A-Dub, thank you for the $10 super chat there. I will find that story and report more on it tomorrow. With that, as always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening. And we're back here on Wednesday for more Weaponized News.